This is a podcast by the News Minute, and you are listening to South Central.
Hello and welcome to South Central, a TNM podcast where we put South at the center. I am Dhanya Rajendran. This is a show that drops every Friday. You can find us on YouTube, Apple, Spotify, and all platforms. In this week's episode, we look at how the Chennai police is targeting journalists in the Anna University FIR probe. We'll also discuss Telangana's recently released caste survey. We'll also briefly discuss the deaths at the Mahakumbh and the Delhi elections. Before I introduce the guests of the week, a few announcements. The first is a reporting project. I think I spoke about it a couple of weeks ago. It's called Tracking the Spirituality Industry. In fact, first we called it Tracking Cults, and then we decided, no, we should call it Spirituality Industry. So our reporters are looking at spirituality industry per se in the entire South. If you have anything to tell us about, a god man or god woman or spiritual leader in your locality, do write to us at southcentral@thenewsminute.com. And we have a reporting fund for it. It's a 1-year project. So do contribute to the fund. That's very important. Otherwise, very difficult for us to send reporters here and there for reporting. The second reporting project that we are starting with Newslaundry is on police excesses. So we are going to look at police excesses of all kinds, not just about custodial torture or custodial death, but even at privacy and many other angles. So that too, if you have ideas, do write to us. We have an entire team of reporters who will be looking at different angles. And now I'm going to introduce the people in the show. Of course, Pooja, Prasanna, reporting head of the News Minute, who has been missing for 2 episodes of South Central.
It's good to be back though.
Yeah. So, and joining is Leena Reghunath, another co-host. Leena is a journalist and a lawyer. Leena, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Dhanya.
Sudipto Mondal, first appearance on South Central. Hopefully will come more times because Sudipto is always busy, executive editor of the News Minute. Also the anchor of What's Your Ism podcast. Now, joining us from Delhi is the most patient person I know on this planet. I'll tell you the reason why. That is Manisha Pande. Manisha, welcome to the show.
Hi.
Manisha, the managing editor of Newslaundry. The reason why I call her the most patient person is because every week she actually watches news television, something that I cannot do at all. I mean, I worked in news television for 8 to 10 years. I feel like my sins are over and I don't have to watch again. I don't even have cable TV at home. But I feel like Manisha does that for all of us. And the only time I watch news is when I tune into Newsins on Saturday and I watch Manisha telling us what's happening. Thank you, Manisha, for doing that really difficult job.
So happy to be here and debut on this fabulous news show of the News Minute.
Thank you. And joining us from Hyderabad is our Telangana Bureau Chief, Jahnavi Reddy. Another patient person, but not because she watches TV, generally in life. Right, Jahnavi?
Hello.
Yeah. Okay. So we'll go to the headlines. Pooja is always caught napping when we go to the headlines. It's only then she will switch on the laptop slowly.
I always think I have more time and then suddenly she'll spring it on me. Kerala High Court orders to raise down Kochi's Army Tars residential complex. This is 5 years after that mammoth Maradu.
Two residential complexes were raised. I don't know if you remember those visuals, right? The two buildings.
I was there reporting, when the 2 Maradu plots came down. It was quite a sight,
This one is because of dilapidation, as in the construction was so poor, and I think it's for army veterans and widows, right? Yeah. Still, the construction was so poor, now that it has to be brought down.
Telugu states get record allocation for railway projects, says Ashwini Vaishnav. Now, Andhra has gotten quite a bit. Apparently, he's compared the allocation to Andhra to the entire, railway lines of Sri Lanka. He says that's how much Andhra alone, one state, has gotten. But there has been a lot of complaints. The 4 southern states, Andhra hasn't spoken up, but the 4 southern states have been complaining that this budget gave nothing. In fact, my Let Me Explain is on this, why the southern states are complaining against the budget. That comes on Saturday, so do make sure you catch that. Karnataka government still indecisive on hijab ban in educational institutions. This is, of course, 1.5 years after Siddaramaiah government came to power. Just before the elections, in an interview he'd given me, he'd said that this is one of the first things they'll do. But typical Congress, they say one thing when they're in the opposition, they come to power, and the left and the right factions within the party kind of fight, clash against each other. and all the Hindutva projects continue as is.
Yeah, and not only this, right? We wrote a whole like a whole series on how the anti-conversion bill has not been taken back. In fact, I think Shivani did a story about how people are not able to register marriages properly because there's a lot of stuff being asked. And Anisha wrote about how there are cases being filed under the anti-conversion law after the Congress came to power. But
It takes me back, in fact, to the case of Naveen Surinjay's arrest. So the journalist Naveen Surinjay was arrested on false grounds, saying that he was part of a mob that attacked a group of young boys and girls who were celebrating a birthday party.
a
Fact of-
Hindutva mob that
A
is.
Hindutva mob which thought that celebrating a birthday party is not Indian culture or whatever. And Naveen was the person with his camera person on the ground to capture the visual of the attack and, capture the faces of the attackers and things like that. But the BJP government at that point mixed him along with the attackers and on purpose listed him as an accused. So he was in prison for 6 months and all of that. It took almost a year for the Siddaramaiah government after coming to power to drop the case against Naveen. And I somehow, I don't know, Pooja, you have been following Siddaramaiah's career for a long time. And of course, he as a person might not have been communal. He might not have ever given any kind of divisive statements and things like that. But his leadership has always left this one gap, which is that he speaks all this secular rhetoric, but when it comes to the government's policies, they always seem to fall short.
That's true. Opposing UGC's draft regulations, ministers from 7 states to attend national conclave in Bengaluru tomorrow. One thing we can give credit to Congress because they've actually put this in action. So starting 8th of February, there's a conclave that will be held in Bengaluru where ministers from opposition states will come and they will put together a document, a kind of unified opposition to UGC. And
UGC draft regulation is quite dangerous.
Yes.
Basically, it's saying that the chancellor of university, which is the governor technically, will select the vice chancellor. You've put education the concurrent list and you've taken away states' rights. And on top of it, you want to give all powers to chancellor. No wonder states are opposing it. We're going to have a column by Tara Krishnamurthy on that. Yeah.
This is a ground report by Newslaundry. Ground report, not 30, at least 79 people dead in Kumbh stampede suggest official records. Manisha, this is a report by Basant, right?
Yes, we've just put this story out today. Basant is on the ground in Prayagraj, and it has been very difficult to get the administration to, open up about how many deaths. And so much so that, when we're meeting people there also, relatives who've come to, either they're looking for missing loved ones or they know that, they have a relative who's died. When you look at the receipt that they're getting from the state governments, it doesn't have dates and it doesn't have cause of death. So it's becoming increasingly difficult for us to certain, how many people came on that day of the stampede and what was the cause of death. But we were able to access in one of the hospitals a hospital list, which basically says that 69 people had come on that day. They were all brought dead from the Kumbh. And this was as a result of the stampede because 69 people couldn't have died, on the same day. And they were brought dead. None of them were treated or injured. They were all brought dead. So we were able to access that. And then we've gone to another hospital where we've looked at another list, again, a hospital list that has close to 11 bodies. So rounding that off, we think the number at least is 79, but this is still not the complete picture. Because what we also found from, again, many relatives was saying that when we are getting the receipt, sometimes the cause of death is heart attack. At other times, it's just unnatural causes. So it's not clearly written stampede victim. The authorities, and of course, they're doing this because they want to cover up the numbers. And presumably because the last time there was a stampede in Kumbh, it was in 2013 under Samajwadi Party. There were 36 people who died at a railway station, and the same day as Mauni Amavasya again. So I feel like the administration will do everything to keep it below, what happened during the SP's rule, to say that, oh, look, so many people died, back then. With us, at least it was only 30.
What is their official figure now?
30. 30 is the
30.
official.
30 is official
30 is the
figure.
official
30
figure.
is the official.
Okay.
Which I think is a gross underestimate because simply the number of people that we are meeting, what the 2 lists that we've seen, I mean, there's no one list just clearly says 69 brought dead from the Kumbh stampede. So
So, Manisha, what I understand is that the administration hasn't followed proper procedure of sending them for postmortem to ascertain the cause of death and then hand it over to the families. It's not that procedure is also not being followed in this case, right? In an
Yeah.
attempt.
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, in the Motilal Nehru Medical College, list that we were able to access, the 69 dead, none of them were subjected to a postmortem. They were just handed over. And again, the receipts that people were getting, once they identified the body and they were taking them back home, the receipts did not have a date and they didn't have cause of death. So there's just a complete, denial of what happened that night.
So now knowing them and their track record and how they kind of always are trying to question our findings on the ground, I'm imagining them coming back at you saying, "Give us proof for the fact that these other people are actually, victims of the stampede. That this person died of heart attack and that person died of suffocation or something." But how do you prove that it is? Do you think that
With this list, at least we're sure because it says that these are stampede deaths. I mean, they were bought on the night of the stampede, basically brought dead to the hospital from the Kumbh Mela. So 69 people couldn't have just all died of unnatural causes on that very same day and have been all brought dead. So, and of course, like the source that we've spoken to has told us that these are stampede deaths.
But I don't think the number will stop even at 79.
Because Samajwadi Party is claiming that a lot of bodies were disposed of into the Ganges, right?
Yes.
There is also that claim
Again?
that they are raising.
That's what they are alleging. No, see, my point is long ago. I mean, everything is long ago now, right? Long ago, when we were reporters, we used to say things like, whatever happens, you can't hide dead bodies.
Right,
Like,
yeah. That
eventually,
will
the
show
number will
up,
come
yeah.
out because you can't hide dead bodies. But I think after COVID, I've somehow left that hope that we can actually count dead bodies and understand. And, like, for example, even in Karnataka, I think 3 or 4 people have died, right? I'm sure more people have died. But how do you get the numbers out at some stage?
Well, this is not, this was easy to say long ago because mainstream media had its beat reporters who did the job. They would know. Now it requires independent media to send the reporters and get there and do the job with the limited staff that they have to bring out these numbers, like the work that Newslaundry is doing now. But then we are not the mainstream media with having the beat reporters, having sources inside, very local, regular people who have been on that beat for a long time. That kind of resources have died in mainstream media. Also, that stories that they are not interested in mainstream media, which makes it difficult to have these exact numbers in our
It's
hand.
hard to differentiate between a news channel and an Astha or one of those, religious channel these days.
No, but why are more people not demanding these numbers? That is what really puzzles me. Like, for example, I myself have covered 2 really big stampedes. One which happened in Tamil Nadu. And I remember that day itself, they will give the list. Some 40 people had died. This was something free which was being distributed during Jayalalitha's time. They gave the entire list. There was no confusion. It never occurred to us at that time that they will try to hide the numbers of people
But
dead,
then,
right?
but then this also will be only possible when the government has a record of how many people are in that spot at that time. This is
But
how
Leena,
many.
there are dead bodies.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
can't, like, for example, Manisha is saying that they have counted 69 names. I'm sorry, 79 names. The government is saying just 30. So you have not even included those 49 people. You are just, and why don't those families speak up? I mean, why are they not more, Manisha, is there a lot of talk
I think
about
the
this?
families are too harrowed right now. So, like for example, couple of points I want to make. Like we met one family that had come from Deoria, Uttar Pradesh, looking for their kin. And when they arrived at the hospital, the doctor told them, and this is all happening in front of our reporters. So this is all like eyewitness accounts of what we are seeing unfolding in front of us. The doctor said that had you come an hour late, we would have cremated the body. So there's just very quick cremations that are also happening. So these guys were shocked that, how could you have just cremated her anyway? Like they came in time and then they took their person to back to the village and there was an ambulance arranged. I think most media houses that are there on the ground, they know the number. It is just what you're saying that it's hard to hide dead bodies. It is actually hard to hide something like this. I think it's willful censorship here. What you're seeing is just willfully ignoring what has happened. I refuse to believe that reporters on the ground who are able to talk to police officials, hospital officials, doctors in charge are unable to come to this number. Or simply when you're meeting people on the ground who are there to look for people who they've lost in the Mela, when you're talking to them and they're saying that, we know that we lost this person during the stampede, and since then we've been looking for them. We found the dead body now. But the receipt says, unnatural cause or whatever. I mean, that's just, it's, the story is right in front of you for anyone to report. So if they are not reporting, if the mainstream media today spent the entire morning talking about Prime Minister Narendra Modi's dubki in the Kumbh, right? Like 1 hour coverage of he's there, he's doing a parikrama, now he's putting his face, he's praying for the country, just, non-stop running commentary and non-stop figures of how many people have bathed till now. Hourly updates we're getting. So many crore of people have, done the snan. X number of people have visited. If you can, by the hour, tell us how many people are present there. Why on earth can you not just give us a simple figure of what happened that night and how many people lost their lives? It's it's basic, and I think it's out there. It's just that a lot of the mainstream media, which is flush with Kumbh ads. The other thing that you'll see across, mainstream news is a complete bombardment of UP government ads on the Kumbh. So you're just tired. You can't report on what's happened.
Oh, and that's one reason that you can, right? Because from the beginning you have said no ads. I mean, and that really has an impact on how the media house reports. I mean, it just exasperates me. I've been a journalist for 20 years. I think Leena and Sudipto almost same age, Pooja younger. But the point is, for a mainstream media, let's say I'm a television reporter. I've been a television reporter, right? If I am at the Kumbh and I am standing outside a morgue, I have to be given instructions specifically not to say any numbers, which means that instructions trickling down from the editor to the newsroom to the reporter, everybody in the chain knows. Why is nobody rebelling? Why can't 5 reporters just decide that I'm going to say the numbers, let this job go? I mean, I don't understand. It infuriates me that the entire system is so compromised now.
But the papers, I mean, these are channels we are discussing. What about the newspapers,
Yeah,
Manisha?
what about the newspapers?
Leena was talking about beat reporters earlier, but something like this would call for a special reporter to go over there or something, to do what Basant is doing.
So there's just theories. Bhaskar, for example, this was right, I think, within a day of the stampede. The reporter went inside the morgue. She counted herself, and that's what pushed the Yogi administration to give a number. She counted about 20, and she said, I saw one body which had number 40 written on it. So I'm presuming 40 people at least came here. So Bhaskar did that, Reuters did that. But since then, we haven't had an official sort of a understanding on confirmed number of deaths. 79 is the first figure.
No, I'm just
There's
also
political
wondering that
parties are saying it could be 200, it could be 1,000, but this is an official list.
No, but the Yogi government also, I think he gave a soundbite, crying and he broke down and what have you. But how the entire administration has just put their hands up in the air and said, oh, 40 crore people came and there was nothing we could do and these kind of things happen.
I know where
there
Pooja is going.
No.
Pooja has some scientific theory that she has been wanting to put forward about crowd control. Yes.
No, it isn't my theory because, this happens time and again. I remember in 2016 or 14 or sometime in Andhra, there was a stampede like this, was it 70? We went after the chief minister, Naidu was the chief minister, and we didn't allow him to get away with, I couldn't do much because there were so many people, right? So there have been studies made, done again and again to show how even if there are 40 crores, even if there are 50 crore people, basic things like ensuring that the flow of people is not obstructed, because when you're made to stand, when you're put in a cage for a long period of time, you get restless, and that's the first sign that there is a stampede that will happen. Second thing, common sense, no bottlenecks, because people then kind of converge and it'll lead to violence. Third thing, make sure that the entry and exit is staggered. Right? Don't allow people to just come together and leave together, because then obviously you can't control. Because I saw ads where they were bragging, Manisha, you would have seen more of these, that it is some AI digital Kumbh. That's what they're calling it.
I thought AI means I, mother.
That is Marathi. These guys don't know Marathi.
No. Narendra Modi has said, right, I.
This AI thing, so they've been saying that we are using AI for missing people, to identify missing people. And everyone has dutifully put that down. That, AI is being used for the first time to find in the lost and found centers. There is no explanation of what AI, how they're using it. Our reporter, when they were there is no AI. It is just that old traditional announcement that, so-and-so's mother is standing at gate number 3, please so-and-so, go meet her there. That is their AI.
Or maximum, they could have CCTV cameras with face detection.
People were telling us that sometimes we are having to make the announcement ourselves because there's just so much of, this is so disorganized.
This is the same point I was trying to bring in, that any religious congregation of this kind or even smaller. I've been to Sabrimala as a because you can only as a girl enter it before puberty, and at that age when I entered, I remember being massively scared because the entrance to Sabrimala, if you know the 18 steps that you have to climb, so narrow, and you're just pulled over it by policemen who stand there and all of that, and being split from your parents is so easy because as a kid you don't know who is, you can't even see people in that crowd, and any such religious gathering is all fertile ground for these kind of stampedes. And it is only in last year that Sabrimala finally started online registration. 80k people will be given darshan in a day, 80,000 people, and they all have to online book, and with spot registration for another 10,000 people is what I think I might not have the right figures, but that's the idea that I have. And that kind of a crowd regulation. So when somebody I wanted to go, he said, oh, I didn't get a booking, but somebody else who I was planning to go with got a booking, and so he's going. I'll have to wait for next week or the week after that to get a registration for myself done. So that kind of some regulation of how many people can land up at a place, and whether it will be within the governments and the administrative forces control to regulate that kind of a thing. Manisha, is anything of that kind being done at the Kumbh?
No, and that is the fundamental question we need to ask of the Yogi government. That look, since in the lead up to the Kumbh, for at least 3 months, they have been inviting people. Come, everyone, come. We're going to break records. It's going to be the best Kumbh that India has ever witnessed. It's almost as if the BJP invented the Kumbh. The advertising was such, and every day, right before till the stampede, the administration was just busy asking people to come. That so many crore people are going to come, we're going to break a world. I think all they were thinking was, how do we break the world record? For which world, I don't know. Who cares?
But everything about this government is like that, right? We are the biggest, we're the grandest, we're the best.
There's a very sad video of a young girl from Karnataka who made her way. And I think right before her death, there's a little reel that she's done. And it kind of went viral after it was found that she didn't survive. She's just appealing to people that don't come. It's very crowded. It's very scary. My God, the number of reels I have seen of people just alerting each other on Instagram saying that, if just don't come here, it's not organized. You'll have to walk a lot. It's quite scary here. Things are not organized well. So my point is that, you go on this PR blitzkrieg. People put faith in your PR. People put faith in your marketing, your advertising, and they die because of that. So that question has to be asked of you. Why on earth were you inviting people if you couldn't handle it?
Right. Moving on to the next headline, this is the last one. Delhi election, the polling is on way as we speak. 70 seats, 699 candidates, and 15 million voters. Manisha, what do we have the latest voter turnout? Are we looking at healthy voter turnout so far?
Yeah, I think it's about 33 till 1 p.m., which is pretty decent.
But is it very tough for the Aam Aadmi Party? I was reading that the BJP, which hasn't been in power since some 1993, is
37
trying,
years.
everything, including the Gujjar and the Jat votes and what is it? I saw somebody saying Juggi.
Juggi Chopdi. Juggi Chopdi are the...
There's a combination they've made of Juggi, Dalit, so JD something, JDC, Juggi Dalit Christian, I think, or something like that. That those votes also may go to the BJP this time. Maybe not Christian, something else.
So I think this is certainly Aam Aadmi Party's toughest election in Delhi because 10 years of anti-incumbency and then a very formidable challenger in the form of BJP. Two things I think, and the last election, what really propelled Aam Aadmi Party to their 62 seats was women en masse, almost 80%, and Muslims. There was a heavy Muslim consolidation for the Aam Aadmi Party because remember this was the Shaheen Bagh protests were happening back then. Amit Shah gave this one statement that you vote in a way that Shaheen Bagh feels the current. And that got everyone to kind of just rally behind AAP. That is not happening this time. Muslim voters are there's a bit of despondency with AAP, their performance. Areas where, these Muslim pockets, it's really pathetic to see. I mean, you'd be surprised that this is the national capital. There's no work done. It's dirty. The roads are bad. There's also this sense of feeling that AAP didn't come out or stand up with us while our children were being arrested in the Northeast Delhi riots. So you have a meme, for example, through in this candidate who was arrested. So there's a lot of sympathy for that candidate that, okay, he's suffered what we have. So that is the big question for us. Will the Muslim vote get split? And then that could be a bit of a trouble for them. And the second thing is, of course, women voters, I think, because of the free bus rides, are still strongly behind AAP. One interesting feature of this Delhi election is that usually you see the BJP setting the narrative in elections. In this election, they're pretty much responding to AAP all the time. Like, we will not stop the schemes. We will continue to do, give the free services, free electricity. Don't believe AAP's lies that we'll, stop schemes. So that's one big thing. And there's been no sort of communal pitch, except for that in the beginning they came up with this Rohingya thing that Rohingyas are taking over Delhi. But by and large, they've stayed away from polarizing on religious lines. The polarizing in Delhi is happening on the class lines, where even if the BJP says that, we are not going to stop any of the free schemes, the BJP supporters are very anti-free schemes. So you hear the base go on and on about ये free में इनको मिलता है, free का खाते हैं, हमको बंद करना है. That there's a counter polarization then with the Jugis who feel that, dude, we have nothing right now. We need this. We won't be able to survive. So I think there's that messaging that even if the BJP top brass doesn't give, their own base is driving home that point, which I think.
No, but that was started by the Prime Minister
Yeah.
because he only said, right, Revadis. I find this ironic. In the Lok Sabha election and in the Delhi election, it's the BJP which has to combat fake news. Remember during the Lok Sabha election, this whole thing spread that they will remove reservation. And Narendra
They
Modi and
changed the
Amit Shah
constitution.
were just responding to that, saying we are not going to amend the constitution. We will not remove reservation. In Delhi, they are responding to this.
But I also want to know the perception battle, right?
Give a lengthy speech that go and tell everyone in the Juggis that we will not stop schemes. That's not how governance works. If Manmohan Singh gave good schemes, we continued them. We are not that government that will stop good. That's not governance. So he really went on a long time.
But Manisha, tell me this two things that that kind of worked for Kejriwal and AAP last two elections. One was that he's a common man. He's one amongst the voters. Second is his anti-corruption stance. Both of which the BJP and the mainstream media have kind of actively chipped away, right? That Kaleen nonsense that we saw, the 20 lakh rupee cup. Sheesh Mahal and Kaleen, two things. And the corruption charges. How much has this impacted the voter base?
I don't think the house thing has impacted a lot of people, the Sheesh Mahal, because the BJP came up with also such bizarre things, like there's a golden commode in his house, he's run away with it. So I think it went into slightly bizarre zone. So I don't think that has impacted them much. But corruption, yes. There is doubt among people now that has he been involved in something? Have they taken kickbacks for this liquor scam? But I think the real anger is work, the civic work. The fact that roads are dug up, the fact that there's garbage everywhere, water, like really bad water. We have so many video reports have come to us, and I just feel sad that, my God, I've never seen Delhi look so bad. So, AAP of course says it's because the LG doesn't let us work, and we have no control over anything. But they do have the MCD with them. So, to me, if the BJP had fought a very focused campaign on just kachra and bad roads, they would have had a better chance. They would have had a much better chance. They have a good chance now.
I realized this recently because we were interviewing the Jasmine Shah of Aam Aadmi Party. The bureaucrats in Delhi report to the LG. So a lot of things don't get done. They just don't listen to the chief minister or any of the ministers. Yeah. Any other thoughts, Sudipto and Leena, on the Delhi elections? What is it, Sudipto? No thoughts about Delhi election?
No, the Aam Aadmi Party, though, yeah, it is. What did you call it earlier?
I call them BJP light. I have no sympathy because look at Shaheen Bagh. The Muslims voted for them, but look at what a stand they'd taken at the time, right? During the anti-CA protests, and how they went after Muslims, calling them Rohingya, like as though it's a slur. But be that as may. So I don't feel bad if they're beaten with that stick at all.
No, one of the reasons why, Manisha, I'm just here saying that one of the reasons why they didn't fight this on religious lines is that if they take out any of those cuts, Kejriwal could come out and do it better. He'll then
Yeah,
start
he'll
off his
chant Hanuman
aartis
Chalisa.
and Hanuman Chalisa.
AAP came out with a circular that go check in every school if there are Rohingyas studying there.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
So they just they will double down on any.
No, that bubble, the fact that it has burst, at least in the liberal psyche, is for me a great thing. Because here's a party that came and said, oh, to hell with the politics, to hell with ideology, let's focus on infrastructure, let's focus on governance, let's all, do all these,
Anti-corruption.
anti-corruption and all of that. And the fact that that has burst now, and now we are left with what? Just one, the other saffron party.
Hey,
One
I
amongst
think that's
the
a
many.
bit cruel to Aam Aadmi Party.
I don't think they're a saffron party though.
It's a moderate Hindutva party.
No, I don't think so.
I think they're a light saffron party, which
no,
is...
I don't agree with Pooja at all. I think what they do is they don't react to certain things because they feel that will bring more attention to. So they just prefer to keep quiet and always talk about infrastructure, education,
But Dhanya, I
health.
asked Jasmine Shah the same question. When the other person is demonizing a Muslim community or Dalits, you can't say we'll talk about education and health. That is not the
But
answer
that is
to
also
that.
one strategy, right?
It hasn't worked.
Like the
because-
Congress recently told Samajwadi Party not to take up an issue in parliament because it will give the stick to the BJP. Because the moment you take up communalization as an issue, the only party that actually makes hay out of has any brownies out of it is the BJP.
But they're doing it irrespective. The mainstream media is with them. They're setting the narrative. So who's going to reassure the communities that we are with you?
No, I'm
Right.
not saying it's right or wrong. I'm saying it's strategy, but I don't think calling them
It's a
saffron
shitty
parties
strategy.
right.
You know what? When they started talking, when
Unparliamentary
they started
word used.
deflecting from the
I
communal,
just said shitty.
no,
I
what
didn't say
makes them
worse.
saffron communal or collaborators in the saffron project is their silence itself.
Yes.
Exactly.
The silence
Exactly.
makes them a collaborator in that entire project, and that is why I think they're complicit.
No, silence is a strategy. That's what I'm saying.
I think one will also have to see AAP in another state to really know what they stand for. Because Delhi it's like a glorified municipality in that sense. Like
When they stand in another state, then we'll see. No, there's no other state in which they're standing.
They
They're
are
in
in the
Punjab.
government in Punjab, right?
Oh yeah. Oh sorry.
I mean, there's no Hindutva there, so they don't have to challenge anything on that. But maybe like if they make a pitch in Uttar Pradesh, they make a pitch in Madhya Pradesh, Gujarat, they did not want to respond on the question of Bilkis.
Exactly. See, you don't have to win an election to see what they'll do. How they campaign in Gujarat, Goa will give you an indication on what they are.
Their origin story, no one can forget that they did come up as this clandestine, with this Trojan horse which was carrying an RSS project. So the initial constituents of that anti-corruption movement, we have not forgotten them. That's the spring from
Public-
which these people.
Public memory is short. I
Yeah.
don't know if how many people keep remembering what that early project was,
At that time, we were all shut down saying that no, corruption is the main issue. Forget Hindutva. If you focus on corruption, Hindutva will go away. These were the things that liberals were saying back then.
My last 2 cents on this. The only interesting thing I found was Anna Hazare resurfaced, the ostrich that he came up and he said he's very disappointed with his protege, Arvind Kejriwal, because there's no corruption last 10 years, right? So, yeah.
Okay, so to the audience of South Central, they must be wondering where are those two main topics. We just decided to take a small deviation because we have the most patient person in India joining us this week. That's why we decided to discuss the Kumbh and Delhi elections a bit. Now we'll go on to our first main topic, which is from Tamil Nadu. So on the 23rd of December, a student of the Anna University was raped in the premises of the university. It became a huge issue considering that Anna University is at the heart of Chennai and this rape happened there. Now, 2 days after the rape, the man responsible for it was arrested. What also simultaneously happened was that the blame was being assigned on the media, saying that how did you get details of the FIR? Which means you have leaked. The word which was continuously being used is the media has leaked the FIR. Now, an SIT has been formed in Tamil Nadu to investigate two things. One is the rape itself, and second is how did the media get the FIR. The SIT has called almost 17 journalists for questioning. They've summoned 17 journalists for questioning. We got that questionnaire, which they've given to journalists. It has random stuff like who's your family, who are your friends, your neighbors, relatives, what foreign trip did you go for, who accompanied you on your foreign trip, what is your salary, what is your direct and indirect income, and also other things like did you get money from anyone, right? So apart from all this, the police have also been seizing the phones of these reporters, which is when the reporters have gone to court. The Chennai Press Club is supporting them. The Hindu has written a scathing editorial. Hindu's editorial holds a lot of weight in Tamil Nadu, right? So there's been a lot of criticism. But the police, I feel, are a law unto themselves. And like we have said in a previous South Central, we discussed this story actually. Downloading an FIR in itself is not a crime. Justice Madan Lokur, who wrote the Supreme Court deadlines, it seems, who wrote the Supreme Court guidelines on how to report on rape, told us in an interview that, look, if the police have uploaded the FIR on the website and reporters have downloaded it, that itself is not a crime. It becomes a crime if a reporter gave away the detail of the rape victim. Though there are allegations that some media reported the name, nobody has been able to find any proof of this. That also seems like just an allegation. So I find what the Tamil Nadu police, the Chennai police is doing is extremely dangerous, especially taking the mobile phones of reporters.
But this is not the first case of this happening, right? We know that this has been a practice. Even in Kerala in the last year, I think the High Court came and said that you cannot seize. This is an Article 20 violation, Article 21 violation, that, you know, your right to privacy is taken off, your right to not to produce incriminating evidence against yourself is taken off when you seize mobile phones. And most of journalists, I think, is not very aware, or most of the common people, even people like someone like, Hani Babu's case, they were not aware that they should not hand over the devices when the police come so that they put incriminating evidence against you. Unless you are an accused, you are not supposed to, or there is a judicial
but
custody.
I think, Leena, the different courts have given different judgment.
Yeah,
right? Like
exactly.
in Zubair's case, he was asked to hand over his phone.
Yeah.
No, if you have a warrant asking for you to hand over, which is a court-approved warrant, you can. Otherwise, the police cannot, without registering reasons of why they should seize the device, come and ask you to. Most often, this is not being officially done. That is the biggest problem, that they just come and ask you to hand over your password, your social media passwords and your device, and that is not the proper procedure to go about it.
No, but my problem is a step further. Like in Zubair's case, like Dhanya mentioned, Vrinda Grover had vehemently argued that he cannot give his devices, both laptop and his mobile phone. He is a journalist. His sources will be compromised. But the court ruled against it and said you have to submit. And this puts so many people at risk, right? Especially when you're dealing with somebody like Zubair, who gets hate, who gets threats day in and day out. It puts his family, the people he works with. Even in Paranjay Guha Thakurta's case, which was in October 3rd, 2023, I have like a list of 6 or 7, and this took exactly 5 or 10 minutes to put together. So there is, Kerala High Court last December was the most vocal, but in the past we've seen that courts have sided with the police, right?
That is
and that's
because
very problematic.
the Supreme Court itself, in this Foundation of Media Professionals case, they are yet to come out with a verdict in that case, right, where it has been filed and court has asked for guidelines to be framed on what cases and what basis you will seize journalist devices. Of course, it's the whole sources and all the kind of official communications that a journalist have. They have a right to not hand over the devices unless they are accused in that, which in case the police will have to go to court and seize whatever devices that they have.
No, I get the legal point, and that's very important. And what the fact that the courts have been ambivalent on this question, but I'm also wondering about the ambivalence of the political establishment in Tamil Nadu. Now, here we think that there is a progressive government, which is supposedly pro human rights, pro journalism, pro free speech, and it is on these counts that they take on the union government and the BJP and things like that. For a DMK government to be in power over there, even the Kerala example that you gave, right? For
it
me,
is the PSC data leak case that journalist phones will they expose the whole data leak of
Sudipto,
candidates.
Finish.
My simple thing is does it mean that the political establishment is complicit in this, or does it mean that they have no control over the police? I think both.
I think both. First thing, the political establishment is complicit and they have no control over the police. And look at Tamil Nadu. Like, we have put out a story yesterday in Power Trip, our political newsletter, that the government now does not want this to go on because the media is turning against them, right? But they have no control over the police because the police feel that it is because of the media that they are in trouble. Manisha, I want to just come to you with one point. So, whenever we say this, people are like, so what? Are journalists above the law? Why can't you give your phones? Why can't the police seize it?
I mean, you want me to respond to this line of thinking? So actually, we in Newslaundry's case, we went to the High Court and asked them to not use any material because during the surveys that we had, the income tax surveys, Abhinandan's phone was taken away, and we went to the court and said that it cannot be used whatever you get from there. So now they have whatever they have, but they can't put it out in the public domain, and the court ruled in favor. So look, journalists. I mean, we are journalists. We have a lot of stuff on the phone. Sometimes it could be protection of sources. You could actually have conversations with sources that you don't want, that will end up with the police. And of course, we all have a private life. We don't want like the police prying through, who we talk to, where we vacation, whatever, like whatever it is. It's a private citizen's phone. So I think, but I'm curious to know in this case that it's just the police that is lashing out at the media for reporting on the case. There's no political angle to it. The case is not politically sensitive.
So the politicians per se are not saying anything much, but the IT wing, which is the online mob, is definitely saying a lot. In fact, they were behind us for a long time saying, you guys downloaded the FIR, you guys downloaded. Now that we are not summoned, they know that we didn't download. But my point is, downloading the FIR is still not a crime.
Right. That is what exactly.
Even if we had downloaded it.
The FIR is a public document. It cannot be a secret.
And the imperative is on the government that they should not have given out. They can of course hide the details in the FIR that they are not supposed to give out. They can blank out those portions and release it to the media, right?
Yeah. So to explain to Manisha, basically what normally happens is that if it's a case of rape or any heinous crime like that, they do not upload the FIR. They generally don't upload it at all. I'm sorry, they upload it, but it is not available for public view. In this case, the FIR was uploaded and it was available for public view. Now, the Chennai Police Commissioner is saying there was a technical glitch in the National Informatic System or whatever that is, and that is the reason why this FIR was made visible. In that small period of time, people have downloaded it. They are now making it sound like downloading that is the problem. And obviously, if reporters get the FIR, they send it to the office, right? So a lot of these reporters are sent it to their offices because their editors, their office groups, whatever. So why did you forward the FIR? That's the other question.
This sets a very bad precedence. And I'm worried that Uttar Pradesh and Madhya Pradesh will be watching this keenly to follow suit here.
Right, taking notes.
Yeah, they'll be taking notes how to, because this is very dangerous. Because even in a case of rape, for example, we do access the FIRs. We will not put it out in the public. We will not put out the name, but we access the FIRs. This is part of our job.
No, I can't tell you the number of trolls, like to just dignify them, who are continuously asking me because we put out a story saying the FIR says so and so, very minimal details, right? The FIR actually was very victim shaming in one sense, which also the High Court has criticized. But we wrote a very sanitized version of what happened and what does the FIR say. People are like, how did you access the FIR? Why did you put out the FIR details? Because the FIR is a document on which I report. It is an official document. In rape cases, sometimes we get it from the police, sometimes we get from the victim's family. Yeah. There are many sources who give us. It is our responsibility to ensure that we report in a way which does not compromise. I mean, I'm very surprised that the Tamil Nadu government, MK Stalin and all the others have not put a stop to this nonsense that the police is doing, which is seizing phones and this questionnaire which Pooja has kept open now.
For a while now, because, I was amused. 13th question is when they finally, 13A, not even 13, is when they come to the case in hand. Before that, look at the questions they've asked. Names of father, mother, wife, brothers, sisters, brother-in-law, sister-in-law's children. What do brother-in-law, sister-in-laws have anything to do with a reporter's work?
I don't
Passport
mind.
number.
Actually, I would have happily given my brother's number and the cops to call him. But this is so silly. That question I went on and on. The foreign travel one. Have you seen that?
Yeah. One? Details of occupation in the last 20 years. And source of income. 20 years. They want to know what you did.
I'm telling
this
you,
is just the police using this to do a surveillance on the.
See, I think
no, not only that. See, these are crime reporters, right? Yeah. So crime reporters have police as sources, right. And most police officers do not like each other. Right. That is a reality. Therefore, you take a crime reporter's phone, you will understand who his source is. Then you'll screw his happiness.
It also is a sign of how they've lost fear of the media, and I don't think that's a good situation to be in, because when I was doing crime reporting, we made sure that the cops had a healthy fear of us, not just respect, fear. Because fear of what? Fear of the fact that the cops are always up to some do number, always. Okay, even if there's a jewelry recovery, we know that 20% of it has gone somewhere else. Okay, so these tough questions were always part of our approach towards the police. At least the cohort that I worked with back then. Over the years, I think we've gone easy on them, or
No, this is exactly the point I was discussing with Shabir, my colleague in Tamil Nadu, that the Tamil media has sort of censored itself.
Yeah.
Like while we talk about what is happening in BJP ruled states, etc., they have sort of co-opted. And I'm not talking about English media also in Tamil Nadu, which have like New Indian Express, Hindu and all have been quite critical when needed. But a lot of these people have co-opted, right? Because they feel like you have to support liberal governments versus,
No, they
versus
become
the...
embedded DMK journalists. I don't mean the party necessarily.
Yeah.
The ideology,
No,
the
I'm
larger
saying they co-opt to the
ecosystem.
ideology, right?
Yeah.
And so the cops are not at all scared of them. Now, this is the first day when actually Shabir called me and said that the journalists are being summoned. I said, let's see who protests. But look at it, they actually came together. There are so many protests happening now. So it's one healthy sign also
No,
that
but
there
the
is going to be
protest-
resistance now.
The protest part, I understand, Dhanya, but the daily reporting part, like for example, since you brought up Shabir, the reporting he did on the police custodial torture. How many reporters did that? How many of them held the police to account? It's on a daily basis that you hold them to account for their fake encounters, for their custodial torture, for their excesses. I suppose that's when they'll know that, okay, there's somebody holding them to account. Otherwise, who holds the police to account? If not the government, at least us.
And to all those people sitting and supporting cops, I mean, cops are nobody's friends. So
Can I come back to the beautiful questionnaire?
Yes.
Question number 36. Details of movable property, that's gold, car, cash. Details of immovable properties,
Why?
land, buildings. Wait, there is more coming up. Details of foreign visits. Period, country, reason, people who accompanied you. Details of your relationship/contact with other journalists.
I will write 500 pages for this.
Details of your friends and acquaintances. Number of FIRs registered against you. Give details of your social media account, X, Facebook,
Manisha,
Instagram,
didn't you
Telegram.
go somewhere recently abroad because I saw you putting pictures of some food?
Vietnam.
Yeah.
Vietnam.
So if the cops come to you from Tamil Nadu, you'll have to reveal what you ate in Thailand. I'm sorry, Vietnam.
There should be a law like for bureaucrats and for elected representatives. There's a sanction that you require, right, to prosecute. Given that there is an extraordinary dimension to our profession, I suppose there should be a law of seeking some kind of sanction before these people go on
that is
a
before the
witch hunt.
Supreme Court, right? The Supreme Court has asked the government said there is a committee, that committee will make the guideline and they're just sitting on it. Okay, so anyways, we'll also move quickly to the next topic. We're going to discuss the Telangana caste survey. Telangana has done a caste survey and they've released parts of the caste survey. Jahnavi, give us a quick update about when this caste survey started and what do the results say?
Okay, so it's officially called the Socioeconomic, Educational, Employment, Political and Caste Survey. It was done in November, December last year. So 2 days back, cabinet subcommittee held a press meet and they said we're sharing, they were very self-congratulatory about finishing it within a year of announcing it. And they shared some basic information. So, the percentage of population, which is SC, ST, BC and OC. They said total BC population is around 56%. So the main point of the intention behind doing the survey, or what was the expected outcome, was so Congress had promised to increase BC reservation in local bodies to 42%. So that was the main outcome expected from this. So because they did this whole dramatic press meet and then they said there'll be a special assembly session and it'll be discussed and everything, the expectation was that so when a similar survey happened in Bihar, initially there was basic information shared, and when it was introduced in the assembly, when it was tabled in the assembly, they gave detailed information about each community's income levels, education levels, employment levels, all of that. So that was what was expected, and also possibly they were expected to bring in a bill to actually increase the reservation to 42%. But so yesterday was very overwhelming. So none of that happened underwhelming. None of that happened in the assembly. So yesterday, what Revanth Reddy did was he just repeated whatever was already shared. Again, the broad numbers. And so when they were questioned, when they were asked where is the further breakup of subcaste data and socioeconomic status. They gave very bizarre reasons. Initially, they said that it's too much data. It's a very big report. Then when people asked, why can't you just share a PDF? They said it has the private information of citizens, so we can't share it because we don't want to violate data privacy. Uh, Again, I mean, none of this really makes sense because they were just asked to share a summary of the data. So basically, nothing has really, I mean, there's no real insights so far. But even based on whatever they've shared so far, there is some opposition from BJP, BRS, and like a few BC leaders. What they're saying is that they seem to have undercounted BCs and overcounted OCs. This they're saying based on a survey that was conducted by BRS in 2014. So they're saying that compared to that, the numbers are off.
But Jahnavi, wasn't that BRS survey conducted in just one day?
Exactly. So one day they declared a public holiday, and there was this whole hype around it. People were asked to stay home, so exactly. So now there were questions raised about the methodology followed in the recent survey, and so at the same time, Congress is saying, "Hey, you did it in one day, and the enumerators were not trained, and all of that." So then, which survey is more valid? So yeah, so there is no real basis, and also it's 10 years old. But the other main contention is that the total population that they're saying the state's population is around 3.57 crore, and we've enumerated almost 97%. But I mean, when you compare with the 2011 census data or like Aadhaar card data, voter ID, all of this, the population seems to be too low. So then that's just giving further boost to the theory that they have undercounted the population or the survey is not comprehensive enough.
From the responses, I was actually disappointed with the responses that came also. So first, there were these dissenting voices from some OBC leaders saying that the count is lower, and that in 2011 the population was 3.5 crores. Even now it is something like that. So how can there have not been any increase? But the basic thing that this is an enumeration exercise on the back of a huge social justice consciousness. And what is that consciousness? What is that demand? That we have always looked at the poor. We have always enumerated the poor and their levels of poverty. A socio-economic survey of all the communities would lead us to a situation where we will understand what is the relative privilege of the so-called upper caste or the so-called forward caste, or even among the OBCs and people listed as backward caste. What is the gradation? How relatively privileged is an upper OBC as compared to a lower OBC, and these questions? And that is something which is completely missing. The data is not even part of the conversation. The fact that it is missing should have been the focus of all the anti-caste or social justice groups over there, saying that the main question that we asked you is what is the socio and economic condition of the various castes and how do they compare with each other. That is missing, and all you have is some percentages of this is the SC, this is the ST, this is the OBC population. For what? For some electoral purposes. What is that electoral purpose? The Congress promised that we will have greater numbers of OBCs in ticket distribution and things like that. So to that limited extent, they feel that they have achieved a goal. But the larger question of social justice is not being addressed in any way at all.
Could I make two quick points? One, I think you're all being very harsh on Revanth Reddy. I'll tell you why. Because he's definitely done what Siddaramaiah couldn't for 10 long years. After hailing himself as the champion, the first chief minister in independent India to announce and conduct a caste survey, he still claims he hasn't seen the report. That's my first limited point. My
Very
second
limited that is.
Yes, I can rant for an hour on that. But my second point is, Yogendra Yadav, somebody Sudipto has a lot to say about, but he called a caste survey an X-ray, right? And he said, just like you cannot give medication, you cannot prescribe anything without doing an X-ray and finding out what the actual problem is. Giving affirmative action without a caste survey is useless. So, for those who are not familiar, it isn't just counting, oh, this person belongs to this caste. It also is supposed to map the socio-economic, educational position of each of those castes. Has that been done, Sudipto and Jahnavi?
Jahnavi, that's been done, right, Jahnavi?
Yeah, and
So they claim because
No,
they
but
haven't
Sudipto, the
shared the
government
data.
is saying they have the data. They are saying we don't want to put it in public, right? So then we have to see how they look at the creamy layer, etc.
Yeah.
Yes, but the entire point was to put it in the public domain so that there's public discussion, so that there's awareness about these things which have otherwise been talked about only in rhetorical terms. When we say, oh, upper castes are privileged, oh, this particular caste does not belong in the BC list, or this particular caste which is in the BC list should actually be in the SC list, or this particular caste which is in the SC list should be moved to the BC list. These are questions which have been taking up a lot of space in the conversation around affirmative action. And for that is exactly why we need the data. And if they're not going to share that data, then what's the point of conducting this survey?
You know, one annoying thing I hear a lot of privileged caste people talk about, oh, I have that one friend, he has 3 cars, but he gets quota. This is why, you know, it answers that stupid question once and for all.
Absolutely.
Jahnavi, but is there an indication that they will release that data like Bihar did?
They were very evasive. So I don't think it's much better than Karnataka, whatever they've done, because this is practically nothing.
Hey, you know the
I am
percentages.
going to cry if you say that.
You know the percentages. Karnataka doesn't even know
I
the
had to
percentages.
go to a minister for a leak to get the numbers.
Like with Bihar, they have told us that in general category, Bhumihars are the most poor and castes are the least poor. Like that level of data they have released in the assembly, which is what was expected in Telangana. And I mean, what are we supposed to do with this? I mean, unless even to increase BC reservations. Sorry.
Yeah, no, just the point that firstly, I mean, it is Siddaramaiah here, it is Reddy over there, but it's Congress in the end of the day. Okay, and the Congress had this ball in its court for decades. Okay, that's one thing. Yeah, the second point I forgot.
No, I don't understand why does the Congress announce this if Rahul Gandhi has made this a pitch all over the country, right? Caste census will be done.
Yeah.
Even in the 2 states that they are in power, and that too very comfortably. They're so scared of the equations within their parties itself, right? Like here the Vokkaligas and the Lingayats, there is the Reddys. When there's Manisha,
not just that, actually, even within the SC group in Karnataka, there's SC left, SC right. The SC right has been fighting release of this. Actually, the Vokkaligas and Lingayats have been walking away with the blame or credit, depending on where you're looking at it. But the real power are the SC right leaders who have not allowed this to be even tabled in the assembly so far.
And if they have tabled this half report in the assembly and gotten away with it, I don't think any other forum or any other place can exert that pressure on them to release it now from here on forward, unless there's a court order or something like that.
But
They've
Pooja's
managed to take the assembly
optimistic.
for a ride.
Listen, let me have some hope. Give me hope.
Manisha, was caste census a conversation in Delhi election or any of the recent state elections you covered? Because Manisha's always covering elections.
No, Delhi, no. In fact, so there are 2 aspects to this, I feel. One is the political aspect of it, and one is the public policy aspect of it. And public policy is what I think Sudipto is talking about, where you really try and understand what is in your society to then go about forming your, public policy initiatives to sort of at least understand what's happening. Like right now, we have no idea. The same reason why we wanted to do this in newsrooms. We know that there aren't enough people from scheduled caste communities, scheduled tribe communities, but we don't even know what the shortage looks like right now.
Or what the excess
that is
looks like.
Yeah. So, and so that's the public policy angle of it. And I wish we had enough public spirited debates on this, academics looking into this, because I see that sorely missing. Approaching it from the point of view of really understanding what's in your society. That I feel is completely missing. And the first aspect, the political aspect of it, I've always found it a bit. I mean, when Rahul Gandhi goes to town saying there's going to be caste census, to what end has never been clear from the Congress.
I want
If
to
you're
hear what
talking about
Rahul Gandhi has to say on this actually. Anyway.
Just to finish my point, if you're talking about reservations, then you have only 1.4 crore jobs that are in the public sector, which is that 2 out of every 100 jobs are in the public sector. So only 1.4% of the working age population is, going for government jobs. And within that, there's such a scrambling. There's such a desperation. I mean, forget, caste equations in it. There is like maramari, like you say in Hindi, there's such a desperation. There are no jobs. So my point is also, which is why there was a survey done right after Nitish made the announcement. I think there were two academics from JNU who had traveled across Bihar, and they found that the response to caste census was very lackluster among many because they didn't know what it would give them. So even as a political plank, it wasn't clear to even people that what are you signaling really with this? Because when it comes to reservation and government jobs, boss, the first fight is there aren't enough government jobs to take care of our young people in India.
Yeah. And I think Bihar, the findings were much more specific than what we've seen so far. They also mapped the poverty levels, and that did kind of add some value to it. But just to zoom out, right? Also, on the point of Rahul Gandhi, I don't hear him speaking about it anymore. Lok Sabha, he spoke about it. It didn't yield the kind of electoral results that he was hoping for. He abandoned that for the next cause. And this is exactly what the problem with Congress is. They can't stick on to one thing till it's done. But Sudipto, just to zoom out, the demand was that the Modi government holds a nationwide caste census, not a survey, caste census. So if you could explain the difference between the two, if there is, and why is that so important, instead of just states sporadically holding these?
Because it is the credible agency that conducts the entire enumeration. A survey is just, in the end of the day, the extended term would be a sample survey. Survey and census are different by that measure alone, which is that a census goes to every door and a survey doesn't. So it's a more reliable number, and I suppose they have mustered all their troops to kind of go out and do this enumeration, the Telangana government. But there is a bunch of people whose job it is to do exactly this, who've been sitting since 2011. There's been no census, so that, I suppose, is the larger question. And the thing is, how the BJP still manages to sit pretty in every situation. In this situation, the fact that the opposition parties and the ruling party in Telangana are scrambling now, there are Mala groups and Madiga groups which have joined into the scramble to contest these findings and all of that, which puts the BJP in a nice situation in Delhi, where the basic question of, okay, fine, now the survey or whatever has come, we have some numbers, can we make policy on the basis of this? No, we cannot. Because there needs to be a constitutional amendment which the BJP, the union government, is sitting on, which it can continue to sit on as long as these people are scrambling among themselves.
No, there are already demands to increase the ceiling from 50% in Telangana. In fact, one of the first reactions was that, right, Jahnavi?
Yeah, they would have to, even for this 42% promise to be fulfilled. Yeah, there is no plan of action, like how they plan to achieve any of this. Like, do they want to bring in a legislation and ask for it to be included in the 9th schedule? Do they want to also, like, if this is to stand legal scrutiny, then they have to prove that their data, because the Bihar legislation did not, it was struck down by the Supreme Court because the court said your data isn't rigorous enough to prove that it's worth raising the 50% ceiling.
Which is what brings me to the point that it is a political exercise to create an agenda. Now, the Congress has not done that also. This is not going to lead to any policy change. We knew that from the beginning, because it is all incumbent on the union government to do all of that. The Bihar government at least set a conversation. It established a conversation by throwing those numbers up. On the basis of that, you can have some politics, some discourse. What is this? This is some facile move to just say that, oh, we also did it. And did it how?
It's a checklist.
Okay. So we will end the second topic. I'll quickly read a few letters that's come to us. And I have to tell the audience that there was one letter which was
Scathing.
Very scathing, but I asked that person whether I can read it out, and he said, no, you will just make fun of me, don't read it. So unfortunately, all the other letters say good things. I'll read a few of them.
Who's it for? You want to know?
No, the person basically said that you are all recruiting people from only Ashoka University. Had very beautiful words for Sekri and Pande also. So, and of course said don't read it.
Who did we have from Ashoka University?
We don't have anybody from Ashoka. No, this is generally about our organizations and how we only recruit from Ashoka. I'm like, there's
You don't even have
from
one.
Ashoka. Yeah. Anyways.
We can't afford people from Ashoka.
They have loans to pay off.
Yeah.
Okay, Narasimha Srinivas says, going by the facts represented, the deafening silence of the powers that... This is on the Iron Age findings. Sorry. Yeah. Going by the facts presented, the deafening silence of the powers that be on the sensational findings in Tamil Nadu is really something to think about. Do they think that only areas that voted them count? our mainstream channels and print media also seem to be complicit, basically not covering the Iron Age discovery. Should we not expect Jaishankars, Nirmala Sitaramans, or Chandrasekhars to say something, even if their top bosses do not care about the South? Okay. Pramod Biligiri is he's a subscriber who writes quite diligently to us and gives us a lot of feedback. He said, I'm really enjoying the South Central podcast. It feels great to have an Indian show where journalists sit and discuss important news topics without shouting at each other.
Why am
We can do that too. Or playing scary music in the background. That's why we have Pooja. I feel the topics seem to be leaning more towards legal issues. Your fault, Leena.
Leena?
Can you also cover issues related to public infrastructure, finance, public health, and invite experts like civil engineers, architects, chartered accountants, etc.? Sure, Pramod.
Finance, we have spoken quite a bit.
Yeah. Akshay S. Dinesh, who took recently a gift subscription, which you all can do. You can gift a subscription of Newslaundry and the News Minute to someone, and we have 50% discount for student subscription. So Akshay took a gift subscription recently. Thank you for that. He writes, media suing OpenAI is the most hypocritical thing. Journalism has always been about speaking to sources and putting together augmented analysis. This is what LLMs do. One could say that in media, sometimes there are courts where the sources get visibility, but it is the publishing houses that have benefited from journalism and have become gatekeepers of knowledge and visibility. So if media really wants to fight back, let them bring out stories from the forgotten and marginalized parts of the world. Sumant Kulkarni says, I can only be this honest. I love South Central, despite all the biases with things like the fact that it is a woman-dominant podcast. But we have male representation nowadays. Sudipto, put
Finally.
your hands up. Yeah. Last week's topic on AI was a great way for me to conclude creativity holds the most value, circling to Hindustan and the diversity contributing to a major chunk of the economy is at speak. My main request is to keep in mind that biases do exist and have all perspectives, including having a male perspective on a male issue.
What are these male issues?
The Atul Subhash suicide,
So many people are
Atul
still...
Subhash's discussion, and maybe to embrace the auntie-uncle behavior like Adhinandan does. Sudipto, please become one of the core members should become one of the core members and add a lot of value to the caste and the male perspective. Sudipto. Huh?
I will try.
Male perspective.
Male perspective, I will try.
Yeah. No, did you give any male perspective this time? What is this?
I think I shouted over somebody else, no?
Yeah, did you mansplain?
I think I might have, yeah.
Yeah.
Little
he
mansplaining I'll do every
Yeah.
time I come down.
K. Valentina, dear Dhanya, good evening. Your podcast on death penalty was great with deep insights from Leena and other panelists. I request you to study the functioning of IC in our universities, which is the internal committee which looks into sexual harassment. In fact, Valentina, not just universities, I've been thinking of doing a story on political parties because I don't think most political parties in India have an IC. The CPIM claims to be a party which has it, but if you go and ask people in the party who are the IC members, nobody will know. Okay, so that's it with the letters for this week, but every week we'll read out your letters, your suggestions, but become a subscriber. The QR code is right on the screen. Become a subscriber, write to us. We will read out your letters. And of course, we'll invite a few subscribers to join episodes to be in the studio and talk to us. Recommendations, Manisha?
So I'm watching a really fascinating show on Geo. I think it's an HBO production, if I'm not wrong. It's based on a Pulitzer-winning novel. It's called The Sympathizer. It's about this guy during the Vietnam War. He's with the Communist Party, but he's embedded in the South as a spy. And then he travels all the way to the US and comes back and then is put in a training camp. It's a really fun show. It's called The Sympathizer. Since I'm just came back from Vietnam, I'm quite interested in their history and their pop culture.
Tamil Nadu police will ask, what did you watch after returning from foreign trip? Yeah. Pooja, what is your recommendation?
So just so Dhanya doesn't think I only watch Netflix, I want to recommend a book which is kind of an intersection of the two topics that we covered, the Bhima Koregaon challenging caste, because I mean, one thing I didn't get to add was that the police, when they take our devices, can also plant stuff on it, which is what happened to a lot of people in Bhima Koregaon. The second one, because I am watching stuff on Netflix, is this very short limited series called Missing You. It's a British crime thriller, some 6 episodes or something, which means I can get back to work quickly. But it's great fun.
No, the reason why she's saying this continuously is because in our edit meetings, people be so tired. They're tired through the week. So my biggest complaint is that everybody's binge watching, right? They're watching till 2, 3, 4, and everyone is sleepy throughout the week. So I tell them that 10 years from now, when you don't reach where you don't want where you have to reach, then you should be blaming all your binge watching. So that is why Pooja's doing this Tane Mari in between. Tana Mari.
Never mind.
Okay. Thane
My
Bazi.
God, Dhanya, you're such an exacting editor.
Yeah, the Narayana Murthy of Indian media. We'll say stop staring at your spouses soon.
I just said watch less TV. Don't watch till 3 and 4 in the morning and then be sleepy. the
That
entire
is
day.
not for me. Those were for foolish young people who admitted that they were up till 3, 4.
No incriminating evidence from you, I guess.
Dhanya tells everybody don't be sleepy, and everybody tells Dhanya to please sleep.
Yes.
When she's not well, she's carrying some disease, something else. Still, she'll also be
She's
coming to work.
she's a jack in the box. She'll pop up here. She'll pop up there.
Okay, Jahnavi, what is your recommendation? Netflix series?
No, this book called My Husband. It's translated from French. It's by this author Maud Ventura. It's obviously about a marriage, and it's a psychological thriller. The way that being married sometimes feels like you are in a psychological thriller. If that makes sense.
You all need
Meaning
it.
it's about this like very normal seeming upper middle class or fairly wealthy family, like uh, 2 kids, and they seem very normal and happy. I mean, it's very exaggerated, but so this woman is like constantly like doing obsession, deception, like weird psychosexual mind games and everything just to like survive and sustain the marriage and keep up these
I know what
appearances of
not
like
to read.
normalcy.
I know what not to read now. Leena, what is your recommendation?
This is a 2020 New Yorker piece. Just to drive in the point that dead bodies can be counted however late it is. This is the Rupkund Lake mystery that I've always been intrigued about. This pond in the Himalayas that has a lot of skeletons and a lot of theories of how they landed up there and who they are and all of that. So they did skeletons at the lake, very scientifically DNA using all those dating things, genetic analysis to know where those people came from and how they ended up there. It's a very interesting piece, the skeletons at the lake.
Sudipto?
To watch, my recommendation, this really complex family drama based in a church. So this series called Green Leaf. It's about an African American family that runs a church in Memphis, if I'm not wrong. And Memphis has this whole history of race riots and all of that. And the series is about guilt and self-righteousness, and how this, in Christian theology, they talk about how self-righteousness is something you should keep in control, because all of us are sinners and things like that. And how over time, the most righteous person comes apart as somebody who's also quote unquote sinned and all of that. And it is set in the context of race relations and things like that. So for me, it was fantastic to watch. Green Leaf, please watch out for that. And yes, the second recommendation to read is something I'm going to start reading very soon. I was gifted a book by Anand Neelakantan. I did an interview of this author in Wayanad, where you must know him from the Bahubali series, but I know him from these books called Asura, Ajaya, Kali. Yeah, and he does this fantastic anti-caste retelling or reinterpretation of the Mahabharata, the Ramayana. So this book he's gifted me is called Many Ramayanas and Many Lessons in Them, or something. That's the title. So
And
these are
by who's it by?
Anand Neelakantan.
His own book.
His own book.
Oh,
He gifted
okay,
me
wow.
this book. Yeah. So after the interview, I got a signed copy and all of that.
Okay, so my recommendation is a book which I'm very late into reading. It's Han Kang's Vegetarian. She won the Nobel also recently. I've been unwell for a week, and I don't know why I chose this week to read that book. It's pretty terrifying, at least for me. There's vegetarianism, there's eroticism, so everything together. It's quite scary, but it's a yeah. I mean, if you read the book, you'll understand what I'm saying. It's divided into 3 different, segments. It's a very small book. Yeah, I mean, someone suggested, I think they read because she won the Nobel Prize recently. So I ended up reading it. But I do recommend that book. It can put you off your rails. But
What's the
do
title
read it.
again?
The Vegetarian.
Her latest book is up for release, right?
Yes. Yeah. Okay, so that's it with all the recommendations. And thank you, Manisha, for joining us. I guess a day after this podcast is out, the Delhi election results also will come. So we'll be watching you live.
We have the exit polls today and then results on the 8th.
And thank you very much, Jahnavi, for being on South Central. Thank you, Leena, Sudipto, Pooja. And do not forget, a lot of you are watching, a lot of you are writing to us. But it definitely, though it means a lot to us, it will mean a lot more if you would become subscribers of the News Minute and Newslaundry. Both our organizations have got a lot of interesting, exciting stories lined up, including big investigations. So do become subscribers, support us, and thank you for joining. Thank you to my producer Bhuvan, editors Jasim, Vignesh, Ajay, Megha, and Maria.